Hi, this is Heather at Felt Feelings. Welcome. I'm glad you're here again. So, today we are going to talk about being content amidst the usual chaos of PTSD or post traumatic stress disorder. So, my friend KK has offered her kind voice in this. So, if you hear another voice in it, that's my best friend, and we are going to just kind of dive in here. So, PTSD is one of those complicated illnesses because you have flashbacks. Some people have night terrors. There's a lot of when you go through something traumatic in your past, it usually tries to resurface itself at some point in your life. Um, Sometimes it takes a long time for it to resurface, or sometimes it can just happen like immediately and you break shut down. My PTSD wasn't diagnosed until probably 2020. I probably had it since 2010, but it was not diagnosed because it's one of those things that's harder to diagnose. So, just a little backstory on that. And um, I continue in like the same thought patterns that can hurt myself because sometimes I love feeling like I'm not good enough, smart enough, perfect enough. That's a big one. Um, and I usually fail every time. So what I've been trying to do lately, and KK can attest to this, is I've tried to give myself gentle reminders of how far I've come. Like it's helpful, but I can't fixate on on like the past. So staying in the present is very important. Don't you agree, Carrie? KK?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think staying in the present, like staying in the next couple moments that I have to deal with, is very important in my recovery. So I try to figure out what's next in the day, like the next moments instead of planning. I mean, you have to do some sort of planning, financially and like even emotionally in months and years in advance. But um, I try to like just fixate on what I have to do in the next couple moments. So, and I do this like kind of little exercise with myself when I'm going through like this problem with contentmentship. And I don't even know if that's a word. Is that a word, Carrie? Contentmentship?
I don't know.
I'm not sure if that's a word, but I am going to use it. But being content in like what you're going through. And right now, I think about like I count my blessings. I think about what makes me the most happy in podcasting and being a great friend, mom, partner, and daughter are very important things that keep me grounded. Because 85% of my life was chaos. Like from when I was real little to my parents getting divorced to my stepdad being abusive to my relationships prior to my ex-husband to we won't even get into my ex-husband and my that's like one of those things that like it's kind of you don't even want to know what I dealt with. And then, I mean, like, in the end, I'm glad everything happened the way it did because it led me to my partner, Alex. But it definitely, it definitely didn't have much security. And Carrie knew this too, or KK knew this too. I'll have to edit that, sweetie.
There was a while there where you didn't even know what it meant to be content.
Right. I would call you and be like, what does it mean to be content? Because, like, I would be, it would be kind of like a fake happy. Don't you agree?
Yes.
Like, I would be happy in the moment but the base of it was not happiness. And I think I found my happiness even when Alex and I took that kind of break. And I found myself for the first time. And I'm sorry if you guys can hear the wind, but it is a windy day here in Ohio. So, but there wasn't much security in my finances, in my relationships, in my spirituality, any of that. Like it was all I think the symptoms that I had were taking over that. Don't you agree?
Yeah, there was for a while there you were wishy-washy on every aspect of your life and you weren't content. or happy with anything that was going on.
Yeah, and I think for the first time in my life, these last 2 years have been like more stable. Like they say, my bipolar's in remission, I guess, or like slightly in remission because I can control the bipolar part. It's the PTSD that's acute in my chart because like
Right.
because I'm used to the bipolar. I've had that for 30 some years. You know what I mean? Like
the bipolar is something that you deal with on a daily basis, and it's something that you get used to because it's part of you. Where the PTSD, it's a daily struggle.
Correct.
You're always to be worrying about it. You have the flashbacks. You have the night terrors on a regular basis. It's not something you're just going to get over. With being bipolar, it's something that you deal with and you move on because it's a part of you.
Right. I think that it's a trauma response with the PTSD, and we were talking yesterday about triggers because
with the PTSD, it's a fight or flight type situation all the time.
Yeah, and like I remember my ex always saying, "Oh, it's always flight or fight with you," and I never really knew the answer to why. And we never knew about the PTSD till like a year before we separated because we separated in 2021, and in 2020 we were going to a marriage counselor, and that marriage counselor is now my private therapist because he took me on as a case, and he's like, "Yeah, this isn't good. You guys aren't." I mean, he's not understanding you. You're not understanding him. Like I can remember my therapist. I felt so bad for him. I'd call him like crying, and he'd be like, "Okay, we can do an emergency appointment." And like there would be like a screaming match behind us, between me and my ex. And he's just like, "I think you need out of this." Like he was politely saying like, "This isn't working out for you guys." Like, and the problem was that we were friends. And I think that's where you know that like we just wanted to be friends, but we kept trying in a relationship that just wasn't working.
Your past relationship was toxic.
Very, and we all agree on that. Like even his family and my family and everybody agrees that it was just not healthy, And even or my son will say to me, the boy, he'll just say to me like, "Why didn't you do it earlier?"
Right.
Like, why did you hold on? And we're like, well, we were trying to, give you a good life with two parents. He's like, yeah, but I like it better now these last 4 years where I have two parents that get along and that are happier, people. Maybe, we both have our bad days and like my ex has his bad days. But I mean, like, we're better people apart. We're just like we're better parents too, I think, because we work together on the things that matter and we don't fight about the things that don't.
Right. The two of you get along a lot better not being a couple as you did being a couple because you were constantly at arms with each other and it just didn't work.
Yeah. I mean, like I always tease with some people. I'm like, we used to fight over what was for dinner, chicken or beef. Do you remember days like that? Right. Like I'd be like, that would be the argument. We never argued over the big stuff. We didn't argue over the adoption. We didn't argue over, finances. Very, very, that kind of sometimes became a hot button. But I mean, most of the time it was just basic, stupid stuff. We just didn't get along as people, and it was really hard to. It's really windy and
where if you guys weren't arguing, you would find something to argue about.
Right. Or just find something. Yeah, and we didn't know how to break from that ever. And like even now, sometimes we'll have arguments and like because we're still in the process of the divorce, and it's like he'll be like, "Oh well," and he'll do his like defensive stuff, and I like know since I've known him for 20 some years, like 22 years, and we were a couple for 17 of that or whatever on and off, that I can tell when he's like low key pissed, but like I just let it go now. I just try to let it go because there's no point in arguing. There's no point in feeding into what he wants me to do, sometimes. But anyways, that was a little tangent we went on. We were talking about PTSD. But I mean, that's the reason there is PTSD because like when you're in a traumatic situation where every day it feels like you're on edge, and like you guys know if you've listened to any of my other podcasts about the adoption part of it, that like when I didn't wake up and I didn't want to do any of that stuff, there's a lot of like, I think, remorse and like regret and like, I mean, there was just a lot there after that to heal, to become a couple again. Like it, because we were not together when I had her. So it was just kind of like, okay, are we going to do this again or are we not? And we ended up doing it again. And I think we should have just said that was enough back then. But, you know,
Yeah.
but we tried. I can't say that we didn't give the old college try. Let me tell you that much, because we tried. But and like Carrie sees the reflection and the difference and like how happy I am now and the different ways that that Alex can like talk to me and handle my PTSD. Like I'll be like, I'll just say I'm having a bad PTSD day and he'll just hug me because he knows that gets my stress gone. Like if he hugs me in a certain way, like with the open arms and just like standing hug and like as long I'll just stand there for like 2-3 minutes. He's like, okay, are we done now? Because I want to move and do something else. But it melts my stress away because it's just like that kind of connection between him and I. But it's nice because he'll be like, okay, it's a PTSD day, so let's not bring up anything from the past. He knows that, and he knows just to make. He's like, well, let's make today better, or let's do this about today. And I think that like redirect is really important too.
Right.
Because when you're having the triggers and you're being, kind of like in that vulnerability of triggered behavior, you have to redirect and be like, okay, does this really matter today? Is this going to bother my day? Is this going to make my day worse? Is this going to make my nights and days flip flop, which happens a lot with bipolar? And I think more from PTSD, because the days that I do stay up all night are usually the days that I've had a bad PTSD day. I think it is like I've had trigger, like I just don't want to go to bed because I'm afraid what I'm going to dream about, or I'll have the night sweats from just like remembering my past. It's not like, and the worst part about my nightmares is it's not stuff that like I just made up in my head, like that most people dream about. It's things that's actually happened to me, and they replay, and like in the we talk about flashbacks. I don't think anybody really understands what a flashback is, but for me, it's like I could close my eyes and see absolutely, and I have photographic memory, which is even harder. So like I'll remember a moment and then or a day or a time, and I can remember absolutely every single little detail visually. And sometimes I can even sometimes a scent will do that too. Like I'll smell a perfume that I have or a cologne that I haven't smelled in a long time, and it'll just like trigger that response that it's like, oh my gosh, this is going on, right? And it's like I know like there's a certain scent, I can't remember what it was, but it was like, oh, it was the scent of jasmine, like flower. For some reason, that perfume, I think I wore a lot of it in my early days when I was with my ex. And like it was like it's like a happy smell because that was like the only time in my eyes that we were like truly like quote unquote in love. The rest of it we're just trying to get by, and those kind of scents will be like, okay, it was Fructis hair stuff. That's what it is. It's the Fructis hair stuff, and it smells like fruity and like kind of like I don't know, just different scents. But I can't wear it anymore hardly because it'll bring me back to that moment, and then what led past that. So I'm like, it's weird how even a scent can bother. Have you ever had that happen to you, Carrie?
Yeah.
Wasn't it like, oh, I can't remember what scent it was that bothered you. It was like it was like a bug spray, right? Wasn't it, or something? A bug.
I don't remember, to
I
be honest with you.
Yeah, there was a scent. There was a scent in one of the cleaners. I remember that like triggered you. I remember when we were younger, because Carrie and I have known each other for a very long time. Let's see how many years. It's 2025, so 25 plus years. And yeah, we could get into how we met at a different podcast. But it's pretty funny because we were frenemies and then we were friends. So sometimes that works out like that. But yeah, so I think I'm going to wrap this up with saying that um my computer just decided to poop out on me, of course. But I think that when things are too good and I'm too content, and I think that I get confused because I'm not so confused and concerned with the future, but I'm so worried about my past that it'll happen all over again and that I can't change it. It's like having that shoe drop. Don't you think that's why I can't be content sometimes, Carrie?
Yeah, because you're always waiting for the worst to happen.
Because the worst has already happened and I just expect it.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that my friend asked me if having expectations in life are peaceful will bring positive rewards. And that was my friend Beth. And I said the response I said was, as long as I keep moving forward, I'm not creating unneeded psychological traumas.
It also depends on if you're setting good expectations or bad expectations. Because if you're expecting good things, then good things are going to come to you. If you're expecting bad expectations, that's what you're going to get because that's what you're used to and that's what you're yearning for.
And that's what I'm learning to like hone away from, because sometimes I'll like create my own chaos. Like Carrie's seen it. Like we've had fights days just because like I think that I have to fight. Because I'm so used to fighting and I don't know who to fight with because there's nobody to fight with. Like, I mean, like,
well, we've been in a fight just because we're in a fight.
Yeah.
It's not over anything in particular. It's just you're having a bad day, I'm having a bad day, and we just both go at each other, or you're having a bad day, and I take whatever you have to say wrong.
Mm-hmm. I think tones are very important in people that experience PTSD, because usually I can tell when I talk to her, because we talk every day, either on the phone or through text, and I can tell if she's having a bad day or a bad PTSD day, usually through the phone. And I hope you don't mind if I use your name, because I'm going to try to bleep these all out, but I don't know if I can. So
yeah. Use my name. I don't care.
KK's got it down. So you live how many miles away from me?
Too many.
Too many? Like how many days or would it take me to get to you by driving? About a day and a half?
About a day actually, but it depends on how many times you stop. So I'd say about a day and a half.
Yeah, about a day and a half with stops. With our 40-year-old bladders, we'd probably have to stop a couple times. So yeah. So she's like a day and a half distance away from me, because I live in Ohio and she lives in Georgia. So I mean, you can see we're farther away from each other than we want to be. But life has a way of just kind of being, giving us a really good friendship through long distance and long term too, because we've been friends for 25 years, and best friends and been through everything together.
Yeah.
That most definitely. So, okay, well, I'm going to say this little like tidbit. I wear that shirt that says "You are enough," and I think everybody should realize that they're enough. And what we talked about today is like changing your mindset and changing your like idea of doing things, because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So if you don't want to remain insane or you just want to keep your sanity up, you'll keep doing the same thing and expect different things to happen. So you kind of have to change it up with mental illness. Don't you? I think that that's just like the main thing you have to do. You just have to keep it going and keep positive, and each day is different because you never know what's coming, but it's a good thing. Like this calmness, this the fact that I can breathe sometimes is really awesome. So, oh my gosh, so we wrapped up 19 minutes there, KK. Did pretty good.
Wow.
I know, I think it's pretty close to my longest one. So everybody have a wonderful day, and please follow and share Felt Feelings with your friends. I'm not accepting any sponsors or anything at this time, but I just want to make it free content so everybody can get help. And then eventually maybe I'll make a subscription someday, but right now, I just want everybody to get insight on what happens with people that actually experience mental illness all over the country, because we've got Ohio and Georgia represented right now. So, all right. Well, everybody have a wonderful day and be easy out there and be good to yourself. Bye.